Apparently, 1 in 5 parents find it really difficult to tell stories off the top of their heads. So we got some parents together to see how they felt about their storytelling skills and find out if Rory's story cubes could help them out.
I'm Sophie, and I've got 2 girls who are 9 and 2.
My name's Mark, and I have 2 children, and the girl, Hebe, is going to be 9 years old next month, and Cosmo, my son, is 6 years old.
Hi, I'm Natalie, and I have a 7-year-old daughter.
I quite like making up stories, but sometimes I might not feel like it.
I always used to link a pet with her, who was Scruff, and every story then had about Hebe and Scruff and their adventures.
Making up stories myself, I find it a little bit hard. I think that's just because of my age. So, I don't really use my imagination as much as I did when I was a child.
Often at bedtime, my eldest will say, tell me a story from your mouth, and then I have to think of one on the spot.
It's easy to go to safe ground, and I just do this bit, and that'll be it.
And if I'm really tired, then it can be a bit of a rubbish story.
They went out, they went for a walk, they had an adventure, went home and went to sleep.
Well, this got me thinking about the power of stories in children's lives. Children benefit hugely from people telling them stories. The children's minds figure out things like character, plot lines, characters' motives, things like what's fair or unfair, and so much more. It's great when they tell stories too. Most of us need a prop to help us though. Now these story cubes are like a scaffold that we can use to come up with any number of storylines. They give us the courage and confidence to go for it. And in the end, there's every chance that the children will be better at it than us. So much the better. So this is how it works. First, you want to decide who the hero is in your story, the main person, if you like. Now, to do that, you roll 3 dice and use them to create a character. Right, so I'll pick up 3 dice. Here we go. Rolly, rolly. And what have we got? I've got here a kind of satchel thing, a thing you would sort of carry, a bag satchel-y thing. And then here, oh right, I've got a kind of tent, a sort of marquee type tent. And here I've got a sort of, like the kind of thing that you see when you go into Chinatown in London, there's like a sort of arch and a thing over there. So, well, let's say that's what it is, a kind of archway into Chinatown in London. And then we've got a satchel and we've got a tent, sort of marquee-like tent. So who do you have in a marquee? I think you have a clown who's putting on a circus. So I think we've got a clown, and the clown is called Doris. Doris the Clown. And Doris the Clown, all Doris's stuff, all her makeup and stuff that she puts on to look like a clown, you see, that's all in the satchel. And I think Doris the Clown sometimes puts on shows in Chinatown and indeed all over London. So look, we've got our character. Yeah. Next, you roll all 9 dice together. So I've got to remember who my character is. That means, doesn't it? Roly-poly. Let's see what comes out. Oh my goodness me. This time, what we're going to do is we group 3 together to be the beginning of the story, the sort of how we start. Then we want some in the middle, and I'm not really looking, okay, I'm just doing it quite random. And then these for the end. Right, what have we got? So for the beginning of the story, we've got a skull and crossbones, a telescope, and I've got, it's a person with a sort of scarf over their head, a bit like a kind of young pirate. Wow. So that's the beginning of the story. So I think Doris the Clown, what happened to Doris the Clown was that she came out of the tent and was going to put on a show in Chinatown. So a little pirate came up to Doris the Clown and said, "Hey, do you want to come on board my pirate ship?" And Doris the Clown loved adventures. She'd been to all sorts of places. She had actually climbed up the Eiffel Tower. And so when this pirate said, "Would you like to come on an adventure?" Doris the Clown said yes. And so what the little girl pirate, who is called Felicity, because a lot of girl pirates are called Felicity, Felicity said, "Have you got your telescope with you?" Doris said, "No." "Do you need a telescope?" She said, "Well, you can't be a pirate if you haven't got a telescope, because you won't be able to see the ship that's coming along." So Doris just popped into a shop just there in Chinatown and went in and got a beautiful Chinese telescope. Absolutely beautiful Chinese telescope. There it is. But the pirate, remember she was called Felicity, said, "And I've got the skull and crossbones that we put on our boat." Ha ha ha! All pirates go like that. Doris said, "Well, that's lovely. If you like to put that in my bag." Remember, she's got that bag. So there we are. They're ready to go off on a trip. Now, let's see what happens in the middle of the story. This time we've got a strange kind of dial there. Can you see that? It's a dial. Then the next one, that looks like a kind of set of beans. I was going to say clouds, but I think it's a set of magic beans. I've just said they're magic. And a snake. So Doris and Felicity got on board their pirate ship, and Felicity said, "I'll be captain." And she looked at the dial and she said, "Full steam ahead." It was actually, they had to hoist the sails as well. "Hoist the sails and full steam ahead." People used to say that even when they didn't have steam, you know. They said, "Oh, off we go, and we're sailing west." But they didn't realise that on board the boat there was a snake. And the snake got nearer and nearer to Felicity and Doris where they were standing there. And the snake bit Doris on the heel. Like that. "Ah!" said Doris. "That really hurts, that really hurts." But Felicity said, "Doesn't matter. I know magic cures for snake bites." And she dived into her special jerkin. She was wearing a jerkin. All pirates wear jerkins. She dived in and she took out some magic beans and she went and she said her magic formula, which goes, "Beans, beans, good for your heart. The more you eat them, the more you get yourself better." Ching, like that. And she threw the beans. And do you know what happened to the snake bite? It went, because it was all up big before that, you know, it was huge, great big snake bites, like that big. But when you throw magic beans, it's not only one thing that happens, lots of other things happen. Now we come to the end of the story. We have a crab, we have a pair of glasses, and we have a missing piece from a jigsaw puzzle. And so, when Felicity threw the magic beans, what they didn't realise is that what that does is it turns any creature who's touched by a bean into a giant. And one of the beans hit a little crab that was on the deck, just right where the snake was. And this little crab got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It was enormous. There was enormous, great big crabs sitting on the deck of the pirate ship. And they were going, "Ah, what do you want, crab? What do you want?" And the crab said, "I want to play at jigsaws." Giant crabs love playing jigsaws. And so they sat down, Felicity and Doris with the crab, to play at jigsaws. And they played and they played and they played. And do you know what? They finished this huge, great big jigsaw. The jigsaw was of Australia. It was the whole of Australia there. And they very nearly finished it. There was Alice Springs and there was Sydney and there was Melbourne and there was Perth and there was Townsville up there. Oh, and Kimberley right up there on top of Western Australia. It was fantastic, beautiful. There were kangaroos on it and they were having such a lovely time. And do you know what? There was one piece missing. And that one piece was of a place called Albury Wodonga. You may not know, but there is a place in Australia. And that was the piece that was missing. But luckily, just right there was a pair of glasses. And they put on, that was Felicity, put on the glasses. So she couldn't see it. She handed it back to Doris. Doris, have the glasses. And she found the piece. And there it was, Albury Wodonga. It was hiding underneath the crab's claw. And it was just, lifted it, took it out, and then put it in, and there was the big map of Australia. And this was a magic map, because what happened then is the moment the jigsaw went in, that last little piece, ka-chung, the boat sailed off to Australia. And they're still there. They're still living in Australia to this day. It's amazing, isn't it? If you'd like to have a go with Rory's Story Cubes yourself, you can go to www.storycubes, that's all one word, storycubes.com to find out more.